we have finally made it to our 7th continent, Antarctica.
It's Thursday morning, and after 2 days of crossing the Drake Passage, we wait to calm seas
And a beautiful sunrise. Ice begins to surround us as we find ourselves 37 miles south of the Antarctic Circle, sailing into the Crystal Sound. We had anticipated Antarctica to be special,
but we had not anticipated this. The ship is alive with passengers roaming along the decks to capture the beauty and catch glimpses of Antarctica's wildlife. The Atlas World Navigator is a Class 1B icebreaker, which comes in handy moving into the bay. The captain sets course towards this ice sheet that measures nearly 1 kilometer in size.
On the ice, we see multiple groups of crab-eater seals. We don't realize it yet, but our first landing will have us not stepping onto land,
but walking on water. The ship stops in the water, and the expedition crew begin to launch the Zodiacs. The first 2 groups of passengers call down to the mudrooms and prepare for the first landing of the cruise.
onto the huge ice sheet.
Soon, it will be us moving to the Zodiacs.
Oh, I tell you what, my mouth feels tired because I've just grinning all day. Just all day since we got here. Just absolutely amazing. One of the most unique experiences I've ever had.
Alright, hold on, we're gonna crash onto the ice.
We should probably use a different verb than that.
Okay, that's accurate. Alright, hold on to something.
The landscape will be even in 2 days.
All right, so we have made the landing, except for it's not land. Actually, it's a huge sheet of ice that's out here. Oh, it's amazing. We've been talking to the expedition crew. This is one of the very few times they've actually been able to do a landing on ice. It's just an incredible experience. You're going to see me absolutely grinning, probably until we get back to Ushuaia, because this is just incredibly awesome.
2 expedition crew members join each group and provide expert explanation of the experience.
We're not going to see elsewhere in the world. How they move, how big they are.
We're right here. Then the legal limit of these seals are just magnificent, and they're just hanging out.
So guys, you can tell me what did we saw and nothing else.
In order to see each group of seals, there's a bit of walking.
Fortunately, as we're on a sheet of ice, there are no hills, and the landscape is amazing.
Penguins.
Just don't poop.
Yeah,
You're checking us out, I guess.
the first thing.
Yeah, basically. So later.
It's amazing to think that we are literally walking on water. There is no land below the ice, just a crystal sound, which is up to 1,500 feet deep.
What an amazing experience. You can actually hear the ice sheet start to break apart sometimes, so it's a little unsettling, but it's absolutely beautiful. As we begin to move back to our Zodiacs, we see that the ice sheet that we were standing on is breaking apart. In move.
go one by one.
Wish me luck.
One.
Going across the crack.
One more. Another one. One more.
Finally, there's just one more crack in the ice that separates us from our Zodiac to take us back to the ship.
So especially in this one, we are not gonna stop.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to
That's like a 4 foot or a 3 foot chasm now.
this way.
We're not gonna do it here.
We're gonna change.
Good call.
Fortunately, while we couldn't get back to our Zodiac, the Zodiacs moved to a safer location to let us board so we could return to the ship.
Once on board, the World Navigator begins to move a short distance to our next adventure.
Our morning adventure of walking on water has already made the entire trip worth it, but there is so much more to experience on this cruise. Next, we'll be landing on Truart Island and visiting Base W.
How you doing, dude?
All right, so we are in Base W. This was a British research station. It was opened in 1956.
Lime juice? Yeah. They had everything they needed.
Unfortunately, it was not necessarily the best location because of ice and getting people out here. So they abandoned in 1959. What's cool is they basically left everything as is. Think that food is safe to eat now?
Maybe not.
They had to do a 30-mile hike to be able to get to the ship to come out, so they did not take pretty much anything with them. But we're here, and it's just a fantastic time capsule to a British research station in 1956 to 1959.
But Base W isn't the only attraction of Truart Island, but we'll have to hike a bit to get there.
All right, so the penguins we saw were Adele penguins. Adelie, I'm sorry, Adelie, not Adele. Adele's a singer. All right, so those penguins we saw are Adelie penguins. Large rookery. This is very cool to watch.
It has been a magical first day in Antarctica. We are amazed by the sheer beauty and bewildered by the fact that we have so much more to see. On board, we warm up in one of the ship's 2 hot tubs before returning to our cabin, where we continue to enjoy the views of Antarctica from our balcony.
Then it was off to the captain's reception, followed by another wonderful meal.
Even at dinner, we were able to enjoy the beauty of Antarctica passing by. What a day.
Overnight, the World Navigator moves from Truart Island to the Fish Islands. All right, so it's day 2 in Antarctica, and we're getting ready to go Zodiac cruising. In some locations, such as the Fish Islands where we are now, there are no suitable places where we can land safely. So the alternative is a Zodiac Cruise. This is where the expedition crew will take us from site to site in the Zodiacs.
Think of it as a scenic drive, but much cooler.
The unique shapes of the icebergs remind us of what a sculpture museum might look like if designed by Dr. Seuss. We've had lunch and await our second Zodiac Cruise of the day at nearby Truart Island. Despite the cold wind and snow, we are awed by the sights around us. So let's talk about the weather. This Zodiac Cruise had what was probably the worst weather we had in Antarctica, with a temperature about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. However, most of the time the temperatures averaged in the upper 30s. Yet we were comfortable the entire time we were in Antarctica. That's mostly due to our clothing. This is what we wore. Now Atlas provided the bright green parka for us to keep, as well as the muck boots for us to borrow. Everything else we brought from home. And we advised not overdoing it for the landings to prevent from overheating. Now, as a result of how we dress, we were warm throughout the entire time in Antarctica, except for the Polar Plunge.
18 degrees is the air temperature, 28 degrees is the water temperature, so we're kind of like jumping into a hot tub.
Picture? Okay.
All right, let's go.
All right. Picture? Okay.
Those guys and nights when they're keeping track of time. Silence keep driving and the light can't breathe. It's you so right.
That night, we sailed to the Truart Islands. All right, so here's something we've learned about penguins is they stink. You have the guano, which is the creel, which they've been eating. So anything you see around here that's kind of reddish, that's basically penguin poops or the guano. So, and yeah, it smells so like a
barnyard.
Well, like a barnyard more, I would say it's almost like a seafood store gone wrong. But it's absolutely beautiful. We're having a great time.
So these are the Adelie penguin, and they are very common to this area and these islands. And once we leave here, our guide told us this will be the last time we see them.
All right, so we're told that on this island there are 2,000 pairs, which means there's over 4,000 penguins here on this island alone. And we're looking across over here, across the ocean to smaller islands. And as you can see, all these different rookeries. I can count four or five different rookeries just on the smaller islands around here. Truly, it is blessed to be here.
Once on board, the ship moves to the entrance of the Lemaire Channel, where Jan and I ordered room service for lunch.
Yet we were interrupted by the scenery as we began to enter the channel. Lunch could wait as we went to the Dome Lounge to join other guests in watching our passage. This 7-mile-long passage is nestled between the towering snow-covered mountains of Booth Island and the Antarctic Peninsula.
Named after a Belgian explorer, the Lemaire Channel is nicknamed the Kodiak Gap due to its breathtaking beauty.
We agree, it's an apt nickname. Among this beauty are Antarctica's inhabitants, such as this leopard seal
and humpback whales. And if the channel wasn't enough, we continued to Truart Island for yet another landing.
All right, so we are on Truart Island. This is the second landing of the day here on Friday, and we're seeing a breed of penguins that we saw earlier as we were coming through the channel. These are the Gintu penguins. You look at them, they have kind of a reddish or orangish beak, and then they have what has been described to us as headphones. You have a white patch that goes along the top of their head or down to where we would think their ears would be. Beautiful day. The sea is absolutely still. There's no wind. We're actually overheating as we're climbing up here. It's just another great day in Antarctica.
Something to keep in mind is that a landing in Antarctica is not your everyday city walk excursion on a typical cruise. While you do not need to climb to all the areas laid out by the guides, there are often lots of climbing or unstable terrain if you want to investigate all that the landing provides.
As we return back to the ship, we're excited that the biggest event of the day hasn't even begun: camping overnight in Antarctica. Buoyed by cheers from the ship's guests, after a group dinner, we join a group of 20 passengers who signed up for this optional adventure and head out by Zodiac to Lemaire Island to camp overnight.
While crossing the Drake, we attended an orientation meeting where the expedition crew did their best to make sure we knew what we were getting ourselves into: a forecast of cold, wet, and uncomfortable.
Despite their dire predictions, as we make landfall, we are hopeful that the weather holds out for the next 12 hours. A boost to our confidence was that a group of Gentoo penguins was welcoming us ashore.
How are you? Very good, thank you.
Once ashore, the first priority was to prepare our sleeping area before we run out of light. At the orientation briefing while crossing the Drake, we received a class on how to prepare our camping site. The expedition guides have already marked out an area for all the campers to prepare their place for the night. As we dig into the snow, we keep a watchful eye on the clouds since no one has tents and will be sleeping directly under the stars or directly under the raindrops. We're hoping for stars. All right, so we are sleeping overnight in Antarctica, dug our little what they call a coffin box or coffin hole, and we're here. No tent. There are some penguins just about 100 meters away from us, and we can see the ship, and we can see some stars, which is pretty nice. And we're here until about 7 o'clock in the morning in Antarctica.
Okay, so it was very, very cold, but I stayed warm in my suitcase.
Your suitcase?
It was very, very cold, but I stayed warm in my sleeping bag. And while everybody else was asleep, I looked at all the stars last night.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as it could have been, it was probably as perfect as it could have been. I mean, your Antarctica is going to be cold, but the gear, sleep bag, so I was pretty much warm. Not comfortable, but was warm. But it was just fantastic. Our penguin friends have left us. They were there up until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
They said it got cold.
Yeah, they got cold and went home. But just absolutely fantastic. Thanks, bud.
When we returned, we took advantage of the ship's hot tubs and relaxed that morning while everyone else got off at Port Lockroy.
But that afternoon, we felt rejuvenated and were ready to make the landing when we arrived at the Horn Harbor.
All right, so after several days of going on many different islands, all part of the continental shelf of Antarctica. So we've been on Antarctica since we got past the Drake Passage. We are at Orme Point, and for the very first time, we are on the peninsula of the continent. So absolutely, without a doubt, we have made it to Antarctica. And if you see around, there's penguins, there's snow, there's ice in the water, and we see our ship. So yeah, it looks exactly like any of the other islands we've been looking at, but it's absolutely beautiful.
On the way back to the ship, we take a quick Zodiac cruise to meet some of Antarctica's residents. We even find chinstrap penguins.
Due to the storm, we were delayed by a day in Ushuaia. We had feared that we would lose the day of landings in Antarctica, but as we left the Antarctic Peninsula, the captain made a stop at Deception Island. We watched entering the caldera from the Dome Lounge as the winds are incredibly strong.
Deception Island isn't a normal island at all. Instead, it is an active volcano caldera formed by a volcanic eruption 10,000 years ago. It is one of the very few volcanic caldera into which a ship can sail. Fortunately, the winds died down and the crew were able to launch the Zodiacs for a landing, the last of our trip.
You'll notice there's no snow. This is due to the volcano's geothermal activity that warms the ground. We had an amazing time in Antarctica on Atlas Cruises.
But there's so much more to come, so watch this video to join us on another adventure. And as always, keep on traveling.